Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me today on this training. My name is Holly. I am a shaman and a spirituality coach, and I am so excited to have you today. We're going to go over a topic that is super personal to all our lives and something that we all share in common, which is our emotions. So, the topic today is emotional awareness, and I'm going to try to keep it pretty brief, maybe about 20 minutes or so. So I thank you for being here. I invite you to go to a space that is quiet and comfy, and you have maybe some writing implements so that you could take notes. Drink perhaps your Stanley cup if you have one of those. That would be most beneficial during this training, is to really put yourself in a place where you could really take this in. This is a topic that is very important, but is not covered in life unless you go looking or you have um, support or help or parents who really know how to regulate their emotions and communicate effectively. So if you were blessed to have grown up with parents who taught you how to manage your emotions, then this training could benefit you, but it'll just build on what you already know. Whereas most of us in growing up never um, had this taught to us for whatever reason that is. And so I polled my audience recently and I asked them, what topic do you want me to cover? And emotional awareness was the winner, and I'm not surprised because we are in a point in life where we are shifting into a new way of being. The newer generations coming in are starting to learn that people before us had maladaptive ways of living, and they passed down, their trauma onto us, or their way of managing emotions onto us. So this training will just really open up maybe a whole new world for you if you've never touched on this topic before. And that's okay. They don't teach us this in school. They don't teach us how to properly communicate. They don't teach us how to cope with our emotions, let alone label them. And instead, we have access to things that help us cope in ways that aren't conducive to our health and well-being, and that would be like substances such as alcohol, caffeine, even marijuana, screen time, social media, things like that. These are all things that are normal, and so if you don't have any familiarity with emotional awareness, you are not alone. You are in the right place. So today's training is going to be all about that, and I'm super excited to deliver this to you as well as my members within my coaching membership and my free Facebook group, which is the Awake Collective. You could look that up on Facebook if you're interested in joining this free and private group. Otherwise, I'd like to begin. So we aren't taught how to manage our emotions. We aren't taught how to identify our emotions. And so what that leads to is stuffing them down, or completely ignoring them, or compartmentalizing them, or just trying to unconsciously manage them in a way that makes us feel good, even if it isn't the best way to process our emotions. And so that's why this topic is so important, because these are emotions, uh, when we cope with them in the wrong way, it gets stuffed down into places where it could then become problematic in terms of our health and well-being. It will be symptoms related to stress or anxiety or frustration, like a tension headache, for example, would be an example of all those things combined, or stomach issues, like people who have IBS, like me, for example. You hold your stress inside your gut, and then that turns into digestive issues, and then it could either be really angry and uncomfortable and come out that way, or you could end up just like being constipated all the time, and these things could really just progress further and further and further into illness and then disease. And most people are not aware of that concept at all. And I could attest to this because my mother, for example, she led a very hard and difficult life, unfortunately, and she had autoimmune diseases, like lupus and arthritis. And I've come to the conclusion after much research and learning about all this stuff and living with my mom and caregiving her, that because of the trauma that she endured and her not dealing with it, and the compounding effect just kept caused an inflammation response, which is what happens when you're living in a constant state of stress. And if you're shoving your emotions down and you start to get overwhelmed and then you start feeling stressed, that's when it starts turning into physical symptoms. And emotional awareness is really utilizing the purpose of emotions and why we have feelings. They literally are messenger signals. They are meant to provide feedback to us so that we can identify them, acknowledge them, and then deal with them so that we could process it properly. Our emotions aren't meant to get trapped in our body. First, they start in the brain, and then they move down into your body, because that's essentially what happens, is that chemical reaction to whatever is happening within you or within your environment then gets triggered into a body response. And if you're not dealing with it in a healthy way, it won't go back up into your brain like it should to get reprocessed. It'll get trapped. And that happens when we go through traumatic events. It happens when we are constantly stressed, or for example, if you have a stressful job and you don't adapt to it in a healthy way and you cope in an unhealthy way, such as drinking or excessive substance abuse, then it becomes problematic. So we want to be able to become aware of these things, this feedback, and then address it properly. That's really what it wants to us. And from there, you learn self-care, your well-being improves, you're able to maybe perhaps live a healthier lifestyle, you could have better relationships, you could stop feeling overwhelmed and anxious all the time. So I want you to understand why we have emotions and why it's important to have emotional awareness. Otherwise, we avoid, or we stuff our emotions down, or we maladapt, or we have unhealthy coping mechanisms, like I mentioned. So this will manifest, like I said, as personal relationships that are toxic, ill health. It'll start to translate into complex trauma, especially if you have a constant pattern of stuckness and you live a life that is, very, I don't want to say unhealthy, but it's hard. If you live a hard life, it can be very traumatic, which will have an effect on your well-being, and it'll cascade into mismanagement of so many areas of your life, which will affect your health and wellness. So what you can do to improve your emotional awareness, there are 3 ways. The first one is counterintuitive. I really want you to embrace your emotions, and that could be very scary for a lot of people, especially if you're used to avoiding them, like with doom scrolling. I know I'm really bad for doom scrolling. And cannabis use is another thing that I use to avoid my emotions, or to get through my emotions. Excuse me. So I want you to counterintuitively, if you're used to running away from your emotions, to turn and face them first and foremost. If there's anything you could do for yourself, is to become aware of how you operate, and then acknowledging if that serves you well or if it doesn't serve you well. And if you're avoiding your emotions, I could say that you're probably not doing things that aren't serving you, or there's areas in your life where there can indeed be improvement. So if you won't know that unless you keep running away from your emotions. So I want you to turn towards yourself and become more of an observer in your life. And that helps take um, the feelings that come up when you turn towards yourself. It helps take it from a subjective place to a more objective place, which will help this process be a lot easier and less painful for yourself. And I'm all about that. I don't think healing should have to be icky or feel gross or painful. Imagine, the hurt that you go through and how it, when you're going through it, and enduring it, it's super painful. And it doesn't make sense that healing, the opposite of that, should be painful as well. So in my coaching, I don't believe in addressing like things in the past or the traumatic things that you've been through unless it's really, really, relevant to the current moment, the present moment. So I want you to just turn and face yourself as if you were observing yourself like you're out of body almost, like you're your own best friend, which really helps as well because then you're approaching it from someone who would have a lot more grace than from a personal level, especially if you have like a really critical inner voice and you're used to negative thinking. So when you remove yourself, it's a lot easier to tune into how you're feeling, at least becoming aware of it. You could look at it and you could say, I'm feeling angry. And when you don't acknowledge anger, for example, it could just manifest into like a shitty mood all day that turns into one of the worst days of your life where everything's going wrong and it's just perpetuating itself because that's what you're projecting. Whereas when you feel angry, it allows you to give yourself a pause. And then you see yourself, and really, we all just want to be seen, especially when we're struggling. If you are ignored by others in your struggle because that's something else, that is a product of the lack of emotional awareness we as a collective have. We tend to turn away from people who are having very intense emotions that people are uncomfortable with. So if you're struggling, we don't tend to talk about it. We turn away from it, which then turns into ourselves turning away from ourselves. And then you have no one. It's super painful. And we can't control others. As much as we want to be seen by others, everyone has their own stuff. Everyone is the own main character of their own lives. So unfortunately, there is a self-centeredness that exists, and it can be painful. But you can fix that by being a friend to yourself, to be the person to become aware, to see yourself, and to acknowledge the struggle if you're going through a struggle right now, or just in general. So lean into it, use that observer effect, and just become aware of what's happening in the moment. Even if you're happy, then you could celebrate it. Imagine if you're happy and then it doesn't last because you're not willing to keep riding that wave. It just comes and goes, and then you're looking for the next emotion or the next thing you think will make you happy. So when you become more aware of your emotions, you have more control. If you're not aware of your emotions, I can guarantee you they're controlling you 100%, because then you're running away from it, and then you're coping in ways that aren't healthy, that aren't serving you, and it's festering into your relationships or how you show up in life. So when you turn towards yourself and you look at yourself, you become aware of what you're feeling, and then you could label it. And just labeling what you're feeling lessens that pain, because then you're not shoving it down. It's not as scary. It's just a sensation in your body, and that's literally what it wants to warn you about is whatever you're feeling is what's going on inside, and it's meant to alert you to something. Do more of this or do less of that. It really is just feedback, and that really helps with the observer effect as well. These things are just feedback. You don't need to be scared of it. It's just sensations in your body. You're not going to die. Unless it's super painful, then you're okay. You literally are okay. These emotions and feelings will come and they will go. It's literally a wave, and the more you become aware of that, the less intense they feel. and the less control they have over you. Or you can start to begin to operate in a different way and do things that are more conducive to your health and well-being, because we don't want to trap these emotions down. We don't want them to get stuck. We don't want to keep repeating these patterns because we're ignoring our emotions when they're trying to tell us something so that we could do something different, or we could do something that makes us feel good, or we could keep doing the things that make us feel good. So you could do this with mindfulness techniques, just stillness in general, bringing yourself to the present moment and tuning into what's happening inside of you and what's happening in your environment is a good way. And that observer effect comes in, again, when you do that, it'll just naturally shift into more of a objective place and a subjective place. And then you can just kind of keep track of the story that your mind is telling you and the feelings and emotions that come up. And if you're constantly a negative thinker, you'll begin to notice the negative thoughts and the patterns that come up and what you think of that really has an impact on how you feel and then what you do. This is CBT and TBT 101, if you know what that is. If you know what cognitive behavioral therapy is and dialectical behavioral therapy, this is where cognition and behavior mingle. And becoming emotionally aware of this helps you start to interrupt your patterns so that you can move in a way that serves you better or changes your reality. These small shifts are super powerful, and you can begin making these small shifts once you start tuning into your environment and what's happening inside of you and your feelings. So those are the 3 ways. Embrace and feel your emotions. Use mindfulness techniques like stillness, meditation, journaling, self-guided meditation and journaling, scripting, asking others for feedback, asking people you trust for feedback. If you have a therapist, if you do coaching or counseling, asking them for feedback, or even addressing what you constantly feel on a daily basis so that you could unpack that and begin to heal from whatever is going on, or start to live differently so that you could change your behavior and your habits. So if you want to learn to manage your emotions by first becoming aware of your emotions, then you could address what it needs, what your emotions are telling you, what your feelings in your body are telling you. So you could do it by first labeling and then saying what's happening. So I'm feeling blank because blank. So I'm feeling angry because I didn't get paid when I was supposed to get paid. Or I'm feeling sad because my pet is sick. Or I feel happy because I got my promotion. So really becoming aware of things means you could address it. So if, for example, we talk really a lot about the negative emotions and how to move differently once you start to become aware of them, but also with the happy things, you could also add positive reinforcement to your life and reward yourself and celebrate the things that make you happy, even if it's something small and simple in your life. It really reinforces to yourself that these things exist and that they make you feel good and that you should keep doing them, and really celebrating and rewarding yourself for even the small achievements or the small steps that you make or the small changes you make really gives yourself that dopamine hit, especially if there's other people in your life that, you know, are maybe jealous of your success or don't support you like you want, or you don't have a support team and you just have yourself because you're a lone wolf, or you're not close with your family or whatever, or you're hyper independent or whatever. Celebrating it is part of becoming aware of your emotions and the effect they have on your lives. If you need help with this month's content drop within my coaching membership that I mentioned earlier includes an emotional awareness kit. I'll include a link in the description that if you'd like to sign up for the monthly coaching, this is one of the things that you will get for free that will really, really help change your life. So, as well as the rest of the membership. Otherwise, I go more in depth about self-awareness and introspection and behavior change inside my new training that I have coming up. So I will also add a link for you to join the VIP waitlist at the link in the description. And if you join the VIP waitlist, you can enjoy exclusive early bird offers that I will be sending you via email before I drop this free training. So otherwise, I hope you have a great day. That's it for now. It's about 20-minute mark, so thanks for joining me, and I appreciate you being here. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye.